off in this game and you lost to a team that won 10 games last year in your own building. And somebody please explain to me two things. Number one, defensive guru? Stephanie White's a defensive guru? You gave up 107. A C note plus 7 at home.
73 combined points from your big three. You are playing on national television. You are playing in your own building in front of a sold-out screaming crowd. You are playing against a team that won exactly 10 basketball games all of last year, and you still lost. The Indiana Fever just lost their highly anticipated season opener to the Dallas Wings, 107-104 in overtime. But the absolute worst part about this heartbreaking defeat, the most frustrating, agonizing reality of this game, they did not lose because of Caitlin Clark. They did not lose because of Kelsey Mitchell. They did not lose because of Aaliyah Boston. The Big Three gave the Indiana Fever organization absolutely everything you could possibly ask for from a star trio in a season opener. They delivered a masterpiece, and it was completely undeniably wasted because head coach Stephanie White's baffling coaching decisions left them out to dry, while Paige Bueckers and the Dallas Wings came into Gainbridge Fieldhouse and stole this game in overtime. You are watching WNBA Pro, and today we need to have a very serious, no-holds-barred conversation about what went wrong tonight, because the Indiana Fever did not just get beat by a better roster. They got fundamentally out-coached. Let me start with what actually went right, because the Stars showed up exactly the way they were supposed to. Let us give credit where credit is due. Kelsey Mitchell had an absolute explosive 30-point night. The $1.4 million Supermax player justified every single penny of her new contract. She went an incredibly efficient 11 of 22 from the field. She was 6 of 7 from the free throw line. When the offense bogged down and the pace slowed to a crawl in the third quarter, she put the team on her back and carried the scoring load. She completely bounced back from her terrible preseason performance with the exact kind of aggressive downhill game that reminds you why she made the All-WNBA first team last season. Kelsey Mitchell was an unsolvable problem all night long. And then there is Aaliyah Boston. Boston had arguably her best, most complete game in an Indiana Fever uniform on opening night. 23 points, 9 of 14 from the field for an elite 64% shooting, and she dished out 7 assists. Her chemistry with Caitlin Clark in the pick-and-roll action was absolutely lethal. Her short mid-range game was money. She stepped out and knocked down a three-pointer. She aggressively got to the free throw line. She passed brilliantly out of double teams. This is the All-WNBA second-team center who just signed a massive 4-year extension for $6.3 million. And on opening night, she looked like a player who could legitimately be a top 5 MVP candidate in this league. And finally, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin had a very solid historic debut. 20 points on 7 of 18 shooting, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. She was perfect from the free throw line, going 4 for 4. She had moments of absolute brilliance, where her elite court vision tore the Dallas defense apart. The willingness to attack the rim and draw fouls showed incredible maturity. And let us pause to acknowledge the history she made.
The fastest point guard to do so. So the fastest point guard to ever reach 1,000 points. Also, she is the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 1,000 points, 250 rebounds, 250 assists. Caitlin Clark is generational. That's pretty badass. Fastest player ever to do 1,000, 250, and 250 plus.
Last night, Caitlin Clark officially became the 6th fastest player in WNBA history to reach 1,000 career points. But more importantly, she became the fastest point guard in the history of the league to ever reach that milestone. And she is now officially the fastest player in the entire history of the WNBA to reach 1,000 points, 250 rebounds, and 250 assists. That is not just elite, that is generational. Now, was her shooting exactly where she wanted it to be? No, she went 2 of 9 from the three-point line. The new shooting mechanics from her off-season work with Brandon Payne did not fully translate tonight. Some of that was undeniable rust from missing the entire 2025 postseason, and some of it was the Dallas Wings defense doing exactly what every team is going to try to do this year. Get physical bodies on Clark, face guard her, and force her into incredibly tough contested shots. But here is the most important statistic of the entire night for Caitlin Clark. Despite the shooting struggles from deep, she finished the game with a positive plus-minus rating. She was a +2. Your big three combined for 73 points. So, how do you lose? Nobody in the mainstream media is talking about what happened on the bench, so let me tell you. Because the bench is exactly where this game was thrown away.
Hines Allen, forget about it. Forget about it. I was like, are you serious? We did this? We signed this player? Not good. The big three, let's just be honest. When you score 20, 23, and 30, your big three.
Sophie Cunningham played 25 minutes and 30 seconds. Do you know how many points she scored? 3. 3 points in 25 minutes. The veteran enforcer, who was explicitly brought in to provide energy, floor spacing, and toughness, gave the Fever almost nothing offensively. She was 1 of 2 from the field. Yes, she hit her 1 3-point attempt, but 3 points in a grueling 25-minute shift is simply not the production this team desperately needs from her. Lexi Hull made her highly anticipated return from a hamstring injury and played 14 minutes and 55 seconds. She went 0 for 2. She scored 0 points, she had 1 rebound and 1 assist. The 47% three-point shooter, who is undeniably one of Caitlin Clark's most important spacing weapons, gave the Fever absolutely 0 production in her debut. The rust was glaringly obvious. The preseason absence cost her badly, and she was a -2 in her limited action. Raven Johnson played 11 minutes and 38 seconds. She scored exactly 2 points on 1 of 2 shooting. She was a -3. The rookie, who was drafted to be a defensive anchor and an emerging backcourt contributor, barely registered a pulse in her first regular season action. Whatever momentum she had built in the preseason completely vanished under the bright lights of opening night. Tiasha Harris played a baffling 4 minutes and 27 seconds. 0 points, 0 shots, 0 impact. She was a -2. What do we talk about?
About this team. Depth, front office, depth, lack of length, depth. The second team is not good. Your bench, not very good.
I want you to add all of that up. Do the horrifying math with me right now. The bench rotation of Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, Raven Johnson, and Tiasha Harris combined for 5 points, 5 points on 1 of 6 shooting. In 56 total minutes of game time, 5 points from 4 professional basketball players in nearly an entire game's worth of minutes. That is exactly what cost the Indiana Fever the season opener. It was not Caitlin Clark shooting 2 of 9 from 3. It was not Aaliyah Boston's late-game possessions. The bench was an unmitigated disaster, and head coach Stephanie White did absolutely nothing to fix it. WNBA Pro has been warning this front office about the depth issue for 3 consecutive weeks, and we were proven entirely correct on national television. Do not get me wrong, the Dallas Wings deserve tremendous credit. Head coach Curt Miller had his team brilliantly prepared for Indiana's offensive actions. Paige Bueckers came out and proved exactly why she was the #1 overall pick, putting up huge numbers and controlling the pace of the game. Araik Ogunbowale dropped 22 points. Dallas executed flawlessly in overtime when it mattered most. They earned the win, but the Indiana Fever absolutely should have won this game. They had 73 points from their stars. They were at home, they had the energy. And they let it slip away because Stephanie White could not figure out how to get a single drop of production from her bench rotation. Stay with me, because here is the specific coaching decision that has every single Fever fan absolutely furious right now. Shatori Walker-Kimbrough did not play a single second DNP, coach's decision. Let me remind you of the facts. Shatori Walker-Kimbrough scored 18 points off the bench against the New York Liberty in the preseason opener. She was a +12 in that game. She was undeniably the best bench scorer in any of the 3 preseason games for the Indiana Fever. And on opening night, with Clark, Boston, and Mitchell carrying the entire offensive burden, and the bench giving them an embarrassing 5 total points. Stephanie White looked down her bench and decided not to play her best offensive reserve. Coach's decision, that is not just a mistake, that is tactical malpractice. With Lexi Hull clearly rusty from injury, with Sophie Cunningham scoreless, and with Raven Johnson invisible, Walker Kimbrell was the obvious, glaringly simple answer. She had already proven she could provide instant offense. Her 18 points against the Liberty was not a fluke. It was a signature performance from a veteran scorer. And Stephanie White benched her, while the team slowly bled out and lost a winnable game in overtime. That is inexcusable, and WNBA Pro is going to keep demanding answers until somebody in that building starts listening. Here is the other coaching question that needs to be answered immediately. Why did Tiasha Harris play only 4 minutes and 27 seconds? The veteran point guard signing was supposed to provide stable, reliable backcourt depth when Caitlin Clark needs rest. Instead, White leaned on the rookie, Raven Johnson, and Johnson was a -3. If Harris was healthy enough to put on the uniform, she should have been on the floor, orchestrating the second unit. The coaching decisions simply did not match the talent available on the bench. White benched her best preseason scorer. She gave her veteran point guard zero runway. She rode a struggling Sophie Cunningham for 25 minutes when the offense desperately needed fresh legs and shooting. And to make matters exponentially worse, the myth of Stephanie White, the defensive guru, was completely shattered.
Up in this game now, didn't it? I'm supposed to love Stephanie White because she's this defensive wizard. I mean, Paige Bueckers goes off on you. Aguba Wale, who just got back from China, dropped 22. You got beat.
We were told all offseason that Stephanie White was a defensive mastermind. We were told she would fix the leaky perimeter. Well, the so-called defensive wizard just gave up 107 points at home. You gave up over 100 to a team that won 10 games last year. Paige Bueckers and Arike Ogunbowale carved up the Fever defense like it was nothing. There were no adjustments, there was no rim protection. If you are a head coach and your big three scores 73 points and you still lose because your defense gives up 107 points, you do not get to call yourself a defensive guru ever again. But as bad as the coaching was, there was a moment in the third quarter that made the entire basketball world stop breathing. Let us talk about the terrifying cloud that hung over the entire second half of this game.
Your bench, not very good. Now, let's get over to this. Holly Rowe just said the Fever training staff appeared to be doing something with Caitlin Clark's groin in the tunnel, but couldn't confirm it. Caitlin is now back on the bench with a heating pad around her lower back. This was in the third into the fourth quarter. Grant Young from SI.
Caitlin Clark. During the third quarter, ESPN's sideline reporter Holly Rowe delivered a report that sent absolute shockwaves of panic through Fever Nation. She stated that the Fever training staff appeared to be actively working on Caitlin Clark's groin inside the tunnel. Moments later, Caitlin Clark returned to the bench wearing a massive heating pad completely wrapped around her lower back. And then, Sports Illustrated reporter Grant Young confirmed that Caitlin Clark actually went back into the locker room to start the fourth quarter. There is something going on. We do not have the official medical update yet, but after the absolute disaster of last year, where the front office lied to the fans, strung us along with day-to-day updates, and paraded an injured superstar around the country just to sell tickets, the fans have every single right to hit the panic button. Is the groin injury already giving her problems in Game 1? Is her lower back tightening up because she is carrying the weight of a broken offensive system? The fact that she played through it and still dropped 20 points is a testament to her legendary toughness, but the franchise cannot survive if she is physically breaking down in Game 1. Here is the undeniable bottom line. The Big Three played well enough to win this game. Mitchell was elite. Boston was dominant. Clark was solid and historic. The chemistry was there. The execution from the starters was there. What was missing was bench production, defensive resistance, and a head coach who knows how to make in-game adjustments to close out a win. Stephanie White failed on every single front. Tomorrow, this team has to recover, ice their injuries, and prepare for the second home game on Wednesday against the Atlanta Dream. Ah yes, The Atlanta Dream game, the exact same game where tickets are currently sitting on the secondary market for $19. The exact same game where thousands of seats in the upper bowl remain completely unsold. Meanwhile, the fans were already staging an economic boycott because of the coaching philosophy. And now, the Fever just lost their home opener in overtime, while giving up 107 points. Welcome to the 2026 season. The pressure on Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever front office just went from uncomfortable to absolutely nuclear. This is WNBA Pro. Smash that subscribe button if you want the deep post-game analysis that holds the coach accountable when the players actually show up and do their jobs. Drop your absolute boldest take in the comments right now. Was this loss strictly on the pathetic bench production? Was it on Stephanie White's terrible rotations? Or are you terrified of the Caitlin Clark injury report? I want every single opinion down below. Hit the notification bell because the next game is in 3 days and we are covering every single second of the fallout. See you on the court.